Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, or his nomination for her to the Supreme Court. Widely expected, but still, this is the official confirmation of this. Casey, give us a sense of the kind of nominee, the qualifications of Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Well, Tim, we are very excited about Judge Barrett being the nominee. Judge Barrett is someone who has a strong track record, both in terms of her opinions as a judge, her public writings, her history as a clerk for Justice Scalia, for Judge Silverman on the D.C. Circuit, as a law professor. There's a great wealth of information out there about her. We are quite confident that Judge Barrett is someone who's going to put the Constitution first, who's going to defend our freedoms and not legislate from the bench, and that's exactly the kind of judge that should be on the Supreme Court. We're very excited about her nomination.
Yeah, so I tell you, we give a lot of credit to President Trump. This is his third nomination to the Supreme Court. Gorsuch was an excellent pick, well qualified. We were happy to support his confirmation. Kavanaugh, the same bill, the same kind of qualifications, and now Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And Casey, she's got, I think, 7 children, many of them school age. I think I saw where she'll be the first Supreme Court justice in the modern era hearing cases with school age children at home. I think that gives her an interesting perspective.
That is correct. Yeah, she had all 7 children there with her at the White House today. You can imagine what she deals with on a daily basis as a judge and as a mother and a wife, and so. But I think the really what really comes through as you study her is she is the kind of judge who, no matter what the issue is, whatever is in front of her, whatever the case is that's in front of her, she tries to understand what is the text that I'm looking at. How should that text be applied? What is how were these words understood when the law was written? She puts the emphasis back on the people who are supposed to be making the law, and that's exactly what you want out of a judge to leave the lawmaking to the lawmakers, and that's something that comes out from her record.
Yeah. So the Constitution details that the president nominates a judge. However, the United States Senate now has to advise and consent. They have to actually confirm, or they choose whether or not to confirm Judge Barrett. You just heard Casey Mattox talk about how excited we are about her nomination. She is a eminently qualified judge to go on the Supreme Court, but we've got to make it happen. We've got to make our voices heard to these United States senators. You can look in this comment thread on this Facebook Live. You'll be able to click right on that icon there. Make your voice heard now to both of your United States senators. And you may be thinking, hey, both of my senators, they're going to vote yes. It's great. They don't need to hear from me. They do. You may be thinking, by the way, that my 2 senators are not going to vote for her because it's already baked in because of partisan reasons. Don't take it for granted. Make sure they hear your voice. Already, tens of thousands of Americans are going through the Americans for Prosperity iVol platform. Casey, you've been on the Hill for a long time working on these kind of nominations. Tell folks why it's so important to make their voices heard.
Well, it is particularly, I think, important in this case because this is going to be a pretty compressed time frame as we go through this process. And these senators need to know now. I think the attention that this is going to get in just the first few weeks may make all the difference in the world. For senators to hear out of the gate that their constituents know who this woman is and they want her confirmed. And I think if they hear that now, that's going to make a lot of difference later on down the road. We don't have a lot of time with a nomination like this. We expect the Senate to move pretty quickly. And because of the speed with which the Senate's expected to move, you want to make sure that these senators are going into that process understanding from their constituents that this is someone that they should be looking to confirm.
Yeah, I talk to senators on a consistent basis, and every senator I know has a constant spreadsheet that they can pull out of their pocket and look at the number of people from their state calling or emailing or contacting them on a particular issue. They keep track of it. It matters to them. They talk among their colleagues. So we're urging you, go into the comment section on this link, make your voice heard. Tell them to vote to confirm this really well-qualified judge to the Supreme Court. Now, Casey, there have been some voices out there saying that, this close to an election, maybe there shouldn't be a nomination and confirmation and it's too fast. Give us some perspective on that voice or that opinion.
Well, it's really incredibly simple when you boil it down. The way the Constitution addresses that question is to say that the president has the authority to nominate someone to sit on the Supreme Court. The Senate has the authority to provide advice and consent. They can decide whether to confirm or not confirm a nominee. And those are all the rules that the Constitution gives us. And, I think President Trump is currently president. You have a Republican Senate that wants to confirm Amy Coney Barrett. There's really no reason to delay that vote. The American people have elected both, and they are fulfilling their constitutional obligations.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Casey. This is well within the purview. Actually, it's what the Constitution calls for, to move forward and to get these openings filled at every level. The Senate has done that. So we're glad that Leader Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky, we're glad that Leader McConnell has said, we're going to take this up in an expeditious fashion and get moving here. We support that, right? We think it's a good idea to go ahead and move on this.
No, that's right. And Judge Barrett has very recently been before the Senate and before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So they're familiar with her. They've looked at her record just 3 years ago when she was confirmed to the Seventh Circuit. So they know who she is. They know all they need to know about her. And so the senators then can look at what they don't know, what they've missed over the last 3 years, and relook at what they had. But we don't have to have a review of someone's entire life as if they've never recently been before this committee. They've been there. It's one of the other advantages, too, of President Trump providing his list, is that the entirety of the time that he has been president, she has been on his list as someone who was a potential Supreme Court nominee. So there really aren't any surprises here. People knew who she was, and the Senate has had a lot of opportunity to try to work through that and understand who she was and make a decision.
Yeah. Casey, you make a great point. She's been before the Senate before. Dive into why that's important and why it helps. I mean, that she's not a kind of a blank slate for these senators that they have to investigate. She's been before them before, right? Tell us a little bit more about that.
That's right. So, just 3 years ago, she was confirmed to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the area of the country. She's in Indiana. It's the area of the country sort of there in the Midwest. And the Senate at that point had to look very carefully at her record as a law professor and her public writings, and looked at all of that and understood who she was and confirmed her at that point in 2017. So they're familiar. They know who she is. Obviously, you want the Senate to take this very seriously. This is a critically important role in our country on the Supreme Court. And so you want them to take this very seriously, but that it shouldn't require a long period of time for them to be able to make a determination that she's eminently qualified and should be on the court.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you're watching, please take action. Go to the comment section on this thread. You'll see links to click on from Americans for Prosperity with our I Volunteer effort. Make your voice heard now. Let both of your senators know that this is an eminently qualified judge. Judge Barrett is ready to serve on the Supreme Court. The Senate, as Casey just said, barely a little over 3 years ago, took a very close look at her and moved her onto a key position on a lower court. So I guess, Casey, that means about 85% roughly or more, actually more of this Senate has already voted on her. They've already looked at her before.
Right.
So there are no surprises here. It's time to move in an expeditious fashion to get this going. Casey, I know folks who are watching follow the court. You follow it very closely as part of your work for many years. Give us a sense, or maybe on one or two issues, why the Supreme Court is so darned important.
Well, the biggest issue is kind of really, if you step back from it, the reason the Supreme Court is so critically important in our country is because it's tasked with making sure that the other branches of government stay in their lane. And that means not only not doing each other's job, but also not violating the Constitution. And that's the role of the court in our system, is to make sure that that Congress is the one who is making law, that the president's the one who's enforcing law, and also make sure that neither of them are violating the Constitution in the process. So it really does play a critical role. And of course, that's been one of the challenges we've had as a country over the last several decades, is that system has gotten out of whack. And it's gotten out of whack largely because of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has been willing to make law for Congress and take onto its plate rewriting laws and relieve Congress of that obligation. And what happens then is Congress starts, giving its authority over to the administrative agencies. It gives its authority to the court, and we have unelected judges who end up making decisions for us. I think one of the best things that could happen out of this nomination is if Judge Barrett is the constitutionalist that we are confident that she is, that she would restore that balance and make sure that when we are electing members of Congress, we are actually electing the people who are actually going to make our laws, and not give that power away to administrative agencies and to judges that we don't elect.
Yeah, I noticed in her remarks, Casey, that Judge Barrett said that her guiding light in a Supreme Court justice, kind of a model, is someone that I believe a lot of us hold in the deepest respect. Is that correct? I mean, former late Justice Scalia. She talked about him. Give folks a sense who may not perhaps understand what she's saying by that, what she means when she's saying that. What kind of justice was the late Justice Scalia, and why is that important in giving us a window, an insight into Judge Barrett?
Right. Well, so Justice Scalia, and as she has written about his philosophy, so she's obviously not only from her time as a clerk, but even just studying his philosophy over the years and understanding who he is. Justice Scalia was an adherent of originalism, which is an approach to the Constitution where you look at the text of the Constitution, try to give life to the words that are actually written in the Constitution, treat it as a statute, as Judge Barrett has said before, that you treat it as if it's a statute. People wrote a law, that law is the Constitution, and then you try to understand, well, what did they mean when they wrote those laws? Not just what was in their head, but what did everybody understand those words to mean when they were written? And what that does is that it puts the emphasis back on the legislature. If you want to change those words, if you want to change what the Constitution means, there's a whole process for doing that. You can amend the Constitution, but you don't have unelected judges who just decide to amend the Constitution and change it for us. And so that's what she's talking about, the sort of originalism, the textualist approach, trying to understand what are the laws that Congress wrote, what did people understand those words to mean when they wrote them, so that when we're applying the law, we're applying an objective test, not bringing an agenda and trying to make a better law as the Supreme Court. You're putting that burden back on the lawmakers to make the law.
Yeah. Casey, I know you are a veteran of many judicial confirmation battles over the years. You and I have talked about this before. We're going to hear some things that are, frankly, we suspect they're probably outrageous. They're not fair. What should we keep in mind as we prepare, or as we're asking folks on this Facebook Live to reach out and contact their senators, and as they're part of this, what should they be prepared for over the next few days and weeks as this thing comes down the pike?
What I would suggest is that every time you hear those sort of attacks that get really personal and unfortunate, keep in mind that that's exactly why this nomination is so important. Because where that comes from is a feeling that this nomination is so important to the people who make those charges, because they want to view the court as a place where they can make law, where they can change the way that our government works. And so when you hear those charges, it's a symptom of a much bigger problem that we are hoping this nomination is a big part of solving, which is that ultimately we should be in a place where the court really doesn't matter that much, where it's, as the founders intended, the least dangerous branch. It's the branch of our government that simply applies the law to the people in front of it. And the people we elect are the ones who are actually the ones making the law, and we can hold them accountable. And so when you hear those charges against her that are going to come up, keep that in mind, that this is an expected part of a process in a system that is broken, and let's try to fix it.
It doesn't make it fair. It doesn't make it right, but we can expect those kind of accusations. And we touched on this earlier, but I do think it's worth going back to, because there are going to be so many attacks on this fine judge and fine woman. But she is no surprise, right? She's been through a judicial confirmation to the lower court just over 3 years ago. Her writings have been around now for decades, right? I mean, so this is a judge who is not some murky figure, but a really well-established
Right.
figure with her philosophy and approach to judgeship. And could you expand on that for just one more moment? Because that's a crucial
Sure.
aspect, I believe, of this, Casey.
Sure. She's written extensively on the Constitution, on Justice Scalia's scholarship and her understanding of his approach to the law. She's written on many different issues. She's a distinguished law professor. She's received awards at Notre Dame several times as being the best law professor at Notre Dame. And then has spent the last 3 years as a federal circuit court judge in the Seventh Circuit. So she's been around. People know her, and of course, she's been on President Trump's list for the last 3 years. And so people were well aware of who she was and the views that she brought to the court, which happened to be the same sort of views that the founders would have laid out as the the approach that they would expect, the job description for a judge. And she brings those views to the job.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be, in all candor, a big battle. We know that, given the polarization these days in politics. But just remember, the president and the Senate Majority Leader McConnell are following the Constitution in the manner in which they're moving forward with this nomination and now confirmation. The timing is certainly within the norm. It's following the rules and procedures laid out in the Constitution. This administration or this president has now made his third nomination to the Supreme Court. All three have been eminently qualified, no surprises. They were on a list that he put forward at the very beginning of his presidency. This is a big moment. You can, with confidence, make your voice heard to your two United States senators. So go into the links on this thread, on this Facebook Live. Please make your voice heard. Be one of the first. Already, we're having thousands. Actually, Casey, you said over 20,000 activists with Americans for Prosperity. Is that correct? Have already taken action? Can you talk about that for just a moment?
Sure. So it's quite exciting, actually. In the period prior to Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation or his
the last
his nomination
battle, that was right. Kavanaugh.
So in that process, we had roughly 10,000 people who had gone through the eyeballs process to be able to contact their senator through our system back then in about a 10-day window prior to his actual nomination. In the 3 days that we've been live preparing for Judge Barrett's eventual nomination today, we've had 25,000 people who've gone through that process. So 2.5 times in a much shorter window of time. People are very excited. And so it's encouraging. I think we are going to have a robust, exciting effort here and I think that speaks to people understand just how important this is.
They do. 25,000 Americans, folks, have already taken action on this nomination through our Americans for Prosperity platform. You're in great company, but be among the first. Go to that link here, click on it, go ahead and make your voice heard to your two United States senators. It's fast, it's easy, but more important, it's vital. It's absolutely crucial. One day, if we do our work and she's confirmed, one day you can look at some of the decisions that she's helping write, she's helping make, where it's moving our country in the constitutionally directed way. And you can say, I did my part. You'll be able to say, at a key moment, I took action. I actually made sure that this fine, eminently qualified judge was moved up and confirmed to the Supreme Court. That's a wonderful thing to be able to say one day. So please take action now. Casey, any final words before we wrap up for this evening?
No, I just, we can do this because of our grassroots activists. This is why we have, our activists participate with AFP. This is why you want to be part of an infrastructure that is in place and ready to go for a situation like this. None of us could have expected that this was coming just a couple of weeks ago. And here we are with this opportunity. And so that's why you work with AFP. And so this is our opportunity to make that difference. Well
said, Casey. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We've got a big moment for our nation, a big moment for the Supreme Court. We have a wonderfully qualified, well-known judge who has been put up. The president has done his job and done it well. Now it's up to the Senate. We have a Senate majority leader in Mitch McConnell who is saying, let's get this confirmation done. That's a good thing. We want to make sure that we honor that by reaching out, talking to our individual senators. So I'm going to do it as soon as this thing wraps up. I'm going to click on eyeball in the links here, and I'm going to make sure my two senators here in Virginia, where I live, hear my voice. I ask you to do this thing. Let's get this done. Thank you all and good evening.
Thank you so much for joining Americans for Prosperity Tennessee this evening and watching the president of Americans for Prosperity, Tim Phillips, talk about the new Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. You have an opportunity right now in the description and in the comments. You have a link to this letter, which will put your name in here and send a letter to your senators saying that you want someone like Amy Coney Barrett, who will respect the Constitution, protect our freedoms, defend the separation of powers, interpret the law as written, and will not legislate from the bench, and a whole lot more. Go on right now, click the link, look at the letter. If it looks like it represents you, then sign it. Sign it and send it to your senators and let your voice be heard. That is one of the huge values of Americans for Prosperity, is we give you the tools to let your voice be heard. But thank you so much for watching the stream this evening and hearing from President Tim Phillips. This has been Americans for Prosperity Tennessee. Of